So Evo was about a week ago, and it looks like they're looking to bring in some interesting new additions to what Evo does and how it runs internationally. Now, if you're unaware largely what Evo is and the importance it holds, Evo is pretty much the biggest fighting game tournament of all time. Evo is pretty much the closest you can get to a fighting game World Cup, right? You got people from Street Fighter, people from Tekken, flying from across the world to go to Evo because, you know, there's a lot of money on the table. It can literally change your life to have a good run at Evo. Now, Evo recently went some extremely controversial changes because it was officially bought out fully by a Saudi Arabian company that is actually fully backed by their government. And I gotta get into why this is kind of bad for fighting games and is such a bad look and is kind of unhealthy when you really think about it. First of all, if you're not aware, Saudi Arabia is not the safest place for marginalized groups. It's not hard to see why this Saudi acquisition is like low-key so crazy, because first of all, it's kind of just a manipulation of the fighting game, the FGC itself, because they don't have that much money, bro. The FGC is low-key known for being kind of broke, which leads to, say it with me now, monopolization. Yes, they can literally monopolize fighting game as an esport so easily because they don't have that much money to host their own tournaments and locals and, you know, be entirely community run. It's always been hard, and a lot of it has always been sponsored by other individual people. Like, if you know anything about Smash, and yes, I am going to talk about Smash as a fighting game, even though it is not necessarily even at Evo, but actually compared to some fighting games, Smash has it pretty good when it comes to locals and popularity. A lot of fighting games can't really even say that. But I'm telling you now, Smash community will literally fight hard at locals at tournaments for like $5 and a Burger King coupon. I'm not even trolling. And that's because their tournaments have literally been built on the backs of like almost singular people, or maybe a group of people that are trying to bring together a lot of different people from just surrounding areas or surrounding states. But it is a known fact that for fighting game local tournaments to be hosted, it takes a lot of, you know, investment. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of volunteers kind of doing their job well. And it's not always volunteers, of course. A lot of the times they do get paid. But in the past, there have been places that were like packed venues being run by a lot of people that weren't even getting paid. Bottom line, sponsorships and companies don't really back fighting games as much as they do other games. And, you know, it's kind of on both sides, right? Because I've heard stories of people that host these fighting game tournaments not really understanding how to get sponsorships in the first place, or they low-key like don't know how to play it up to get bigger sponsorships. It's a lot going on behind the scenes. But outside of corporate monopolization, you have to think about where they are. Saudi and the Middle East in general isn't exactly known for being the best place for marginalized groups, especially like LGBTQ people, right? It's kind of not the best place you want to be, because now you're going to an event and giving your money to, if you're LGBTQ, a country that literally pretty much has outlawed you entirely. Now, I already saw a lot of people saying they didn't go to Evo this year because they didn't want to use their money to go to Saudi and, you know, like I said, back that company. But a lot of people who are big in their fighting games or known in their community, they a lot of the times get crowdfunded to go to events. And what does crowdfunding mean? It's very simple, exactly what it sounds like, right? Their audience or their community will literally, you know, put money together, pool money for them to fly out to big events, you know, to represent their game or country, or maybe just because they know them and they're cool. No matter what the case is, at the end of the day, that is a thing that happens. And I saw a lot of people saying they couldn't even sit here and, you know, justify getting crowdfunded to go to an event backed by Saudi Arabia and this government. But recently they've came out with this. Now let me move my camera here. Evo, $1 million in the hands of local organizers. Introducing the Evo Locals Project, a program intended to help fighting game fans find their community and provide resources for local tournament organizers. Holy smoke. So this is obviously where things get a little bit weird, right? because now that money that people are trying to avoid taking or giving to the Saudi government is, you know, gonna be hosting tournaments on US soil. And I already mentioned how annoying it is for the FGC just to run local tournaments themselves, right? But they do it out of legitimate love and respect for the game and trying to keep their community and games just active and alive. Which honestly, I feel like puts like the entire FGC in a kind of weird spot, because a lot of people don't want to go to these events. A lot of, you know, commentators that we're used to seeing, a lot of analysts that we're used to seeing, a lot of just community figureheads that we would be used to seeing go to these events, they might get shunned for showing up by a lot of people, and it's going to feel pretty split, I feel like. Because what Evo has essentially done now, and what the government running it has essentially done, is go to the US, go to all the other countries as well. But I'm in the US, so I'm going to talk about the US because I know the scene. They said, hey, we know you guys are poor. Money spread. Come to our events now. We have the bread. And as you see, the community is kind of half and half on this. I can't say this is the community, but this is under the official Evo post. I actually haven't seen that many people talk about this, which is why I'm making this video. I want to see what you guys think about this. I think, honestly, I think this is a bad step in the wrong direction. You know what I mean? Personally. But I'm gonna let you guys comment on this. I'm gonna just run through these replies, though. Don't be tempted by blood money. Support your locals and use community-made resources. Don't use tools funded by a limp dick warlord. But, you know, while reading this, something that comes to mind is that while the fighting game community is like so good at their specific jobs, whether it's, you know, being a commentator or, you know, being the guy that teaches people frame data, or being the guy that teaches people how to play certain characters, or just being a really good player in general, out of all of those things, I feel like they are the least apt at making a career out of their skill. And I feel like, bro, just them making content could go actually way farther than they think. I just think they don't know how to make it, bro. They're so good at being good that they don't really use it to showcase themselves or their personality, or maybe they kind of feel like they don't even have one because all they do is, you know, be super locked in on the game, which is fair. It's valid. There's a lot of other games like Valorant pros or Valorant top players that are like that could easily have hundreds of viewers, but they don't really know how to, you know, build themselves up to that way. Let's see what else here. I realize this may not be a popular opinion, but very few people actively contribute to the communities. This is actually true. More people will complain about Ludwig saying what he said on stage than actually support the tournaments themselves. I might make a full video on that, bro. I'm not even trolling. The same often feels true in the FGC. Many people enjoy the genre, but far fewer actively invest in its growth. Wow, this is not even a crazy thing to say. I feel like this is something I just make an entire video about. I might do that right after recording this. You might see another video pop up soon based on, you know, monetization, content creation, investments. Yeah, and this is what I mean by it's kind of 50-50, right? People cried for more money in the FGC. Saudi brings it. They whine, no, not your money. No one else is lining up to support the genre, so if you don't like it, fuck off to another one. And that's what this is what I mean, right? This is going to go back and forth because they're bringing money to a poor community, but the money they're bringing to the poor community is coming from a kind of controversial place. Who am I kidding? Extremely controversial place. But if you ask me, this is I'm not trying to, you know, turn this into a racial topic at all, but this shit remind me of slavery, dog. Not, okay, maybe not slavery, but this dang near sharecropping. Like, Evo literally got niggas sharecropping, bro. Evo is literally massa now. These niggas took over the biggest fighting game. They pretty much took the fighting game mecca, put it somewhere that half the fighting game community is banned from legally, but was like, we're gonna come to your state, we're gonna come to your hometown, and we're gonna force you little piggies to fight for fucking pennies. Well, at least pennies compared to other games. You know, the money might actually be decent, but at the end of the day, it's just kind of crazy because I could see if these locals are running pretty often, I could see a certain amount of locals just kind of shutting down, because there are some where people will drive or fly from out of town, not out of state, to get to these locals, right? And let's just say there's a better opportunity a month later being the Evo local instead of going to a different local with a way smaller prize pool and a lower turnout. Why don't I just go to the Evo local instead, save my travel expenses, and then probably get a higher payout? We have Speedkicks here, who is a former Tekken pro, at least according to his bio. I didn't check his fucking Wikipedia, can't lie. FGC is barely scraping by, so people have to accept the money. They'll be good for a while because of this, and a centralized dependency on Evo might be formed. Ripping it away at that point could hard end some locals. Like I said, could just kill some locals in the same way VC esports money ended some NA regionals. VC being venture capitalist, but he says something way more interesting right here. Difference is this is government money, so I don't know if they'll leave as easily. FGC couldn't hold up the return on investment end of the deals to, oh my god, I actually just rekied. FGC couldn't hold up the ROI end of the deal, so venture capitalists, so they left. But VGC definitely may able to, But FGC definitely may be able to hold up the sports washing end of the deal to a nation. Yeah, that's very valid. All they have to do is smile in the photos. Then I saw this tweet, but I feel like they kind of made up a guy. Yeah, I don't know how to explain it. It feels like they literally made up a person to be mad at. But let's just read it real quick. I don't get the double standard here, though. Some of y'all will be mad at TOs for taking blood money but crowdfund to go to their events. Blood money versus money given to you by someone who worked their ass off so you can go on vacation are both bad. What? Okay, first of all, this makes no sense because, I mean, I see Avatar Yaya's reply down here, which I was looking at earlier, but this tweet just made no sense. I was looking for a better explanation, but I couldn't find one from them. People that get crowdfunding are getting money from a community that supports them and is just okay with giving their money to a person to go to an event. There is nothing inherently wrong about that at all. Maybe you don't feel comfortable asking a community or your community for money, but if some people feel comfortable and their community is gracious enough to actually get them to events more than once, then I don't see why crowdfunding is a problem in the first place. I mean, it's literally people volunteering to give their money up. Same way people have volunteered to give their money up to literally any content creator or person on the internet in general. I mean, you do have a Twitch link and your Cash App on your link tree, so I would not exactly understand why crowdfunding is such a big problem for you. But then as I was looking for more of an explanation, I saw, why would you crowdfund to go to Evo, then be mad at the same Evo money that's funding Evo? It's a double standard, obviously. But who was mad at Evo and then went to Evo still? Is this a real person that we're talking about here? I would love to see a name or a link to whoever did this. But bro, if you get mad at something and then you still do or support the thing, then obviously you're a bot. Like, what are we talking about? I don't know, man. But at the end of the day, Evo is hosting locals internationally now. And on top of that, half the FGC can't decide on whether or not they're going to go to these locals. But even the guys that say they don't, they still low-key might end up going. But I don't really have too much else to say. I mean, it hasn't started yet. They haven't started hosting the local Evo tournaments in the US yet. So I'll see what the scene starts saying, you know, after they really start doing that and actually get that plan into motion. But until then, I can't just ramble on hopes and dreams all day. So I appreciate you guys for watching, and I'll definitely see you in the next one.